Welcome to IAS Factor. We are discussing the next important content for ancient India, and now we are going to discuss about the other important aspects of the Vedic society. We have already completed the Stone Age, the Indus Valley. Everything is minus art and culture because it will be a separate session. So now the idea is to get the basic facts. What is the most important facts and what are the perspectives? What is the perspective? In the sense, what is the context that we have to work it? So this is it, and this is what we have to finally understand. So let's begin the session, and with me, Arjun R Shankar. You can read more about me. And moving on to the first important one, the Vedic Aryan, the Vedic period, the expansion of Aryan culture. So this brings us to a larger question. After Indus Valley civilization, what exactly happened? A lot of people say that Indus Valley civilization completely declined. True, but after that the Aryans came. So where exactly is the Vedic society coming in? So is Aryans and the Vedic society the same? That is a question. We will find it out. And let's see who are the Aryans who are coming in big horses. So we need to get a small idea or a brief perspective before we go on. Imagine that. Always understand there are a few theories which I would love to give you in a very quick manner. See, imagine that we are having the India, and this is the most important area, the Harappa or Mohenjo-daro areas. So what happened is, when the Indus Valley declined, there is a theory which says that there is a group of people called Aryans who came to India from the Central Asia. That is another important theory which says that where did Aryans really come from? Did they come from Central Asia? So there is an n number of theories which say that Aryans came from Arctic home theory by Balagangadhara Tilak and Sapta Saindava theory. The Aryans came from Kashmir. The Aryans came from this region. The Aryans came from India itself. They are coming from Central Asia. So theory apart, most likely theory is that they have supposedly come from Central Asia. Something which we can all agree on. So Indus people were living very peacefully. This was also a previous year question paper. No tools or weapons were found from Indus people which showed that they were really peace-loving people. So they did not create war or they did not create machines or weapons. But Aryans supposedly came from Central Asia. Believe that they came from Max Muller's theory also supports. So imagine Aryans are a group of people coming from this. They came to India. And they were not as developed as the Indian people, the Indus people, the Dravidian people. So now the Aryan-Dravidian debate comes in. They were much more primitive. They were very tall people with long pointed nose, broad shoulders, big people who pranced, who came on the horses, and they came here. They actually had a tussle with these people. And finally, that is how Aryans came. And after some time, there is another important theory which says double invasion theory. There is another important theory called double invasion theory, which believes that already Aryans came here, Aryans and Dravidians, they mixed and they intermixed together, and a new new group of people was created. A second group of Aryans, the second wave of Aryans came here. Second group of Aryans came here. When they came here, they could not recognize the people here because all of them were a new type of people with an Aryan and a Dravidian mixed people. That is how Indian culture starts. So they could not recognize the people because they looked entirely different from these people. They were partly looking like Aryan and partly a mix of Dravidian. That is our important race. And what they did, they pushed the people further eastward. They pushed further the people eastward. So they settled in India, and with this, the Vedic society is starting. And Vedic society is completely dependent on the Vedas. Like what we see as the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. So always understand the Vedic society was very different. The advancement, the cosmopolitan outlook and the modernity that used to exist in Indus Valley will not be seen here. So this is entirely a different thing. Always remember this point. The modernity is not seen in the Vedic period. So this is the context. And let me also tell you this context. And the Vedas was created. And after this we'll get the facts. Vedas were written, so there are four important Vedas. The Rig Veda, I'll deal all of this in literature portion in Indian culture. Rig Veda, Yajurva Veda, the Sama Veda and the Atharva Veda. So out of this, the Tri Vedas are this. The Tri Vedas. Tri means the three Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda is considered as a black magic, and it's the odd one out. And sometimes the fifth Veda, all these are previous questions. Sometimes the fifth Veda is being considered as the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is considered as the fifth Veda. So these are all literature. And apart from Vedas, there are also something called Brahmanas. There are different explanations to the Vedas. Brahmanas. Like there are different type of Brahmana. Aitareya Brahmana, Taitareya Brahmana, Kaushitaki Brahmana, Taiminiya Brahmana. There are different type of Brahmanas attached to many of this work. And apart from Brahmana, all these are literature. Vedas, Brahmanas, and there are something called Vedangas. There are something called Vedangas, and also very, very important Vedas, Brahmanas, Vedangas, and also you have the Sutras, the different type of Sutras, the Shalba Sutra, the Sutras which came later, the different type of Sutras which we have to learn, and the most important one being the Upanishads. Upanishads means, Upanishad means sitting by the side of Guru. So there are very popular, bigger Upanishads, like most probably people say that there are over 108 Upanishads, smaller and bigger. The largest Upanishad is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranya Upanishad, all these are important areas. So out of this, we will study the Rig Veda. So Rig Veda deals with these sacrifices, the various sacrifices, and Yajurveda Veda has the details of these sacrifices, the measurements, etc. So Rig Vedas and Sama Veda is music, and Atharva Veda is all about the black magic and all those aspects. So get this important correctly. So Rig Veda definitely has got 10 chapters or 10 mandalas. Each chapter, that is 10 mandalas or 10 chapters. So Rig Veda has got 10 mandalas or 10 chapters. So starting to 1 to 10, you can see that it is supposedly written by gods and famous. It's written by famous rishis or saints. Vasishta wrote this, and the 10th mandala, the 10th chapter, is the most controversial one. People say that it was written later. That is why after Vedic period, there is a period called Later Vedic Period. So Vedic period was much more better, but after that, a Later Vedic period came. So the first few mandalas, last few mandalas, like the most important one being the 10th mandala, was written later. This mandala was called as the Purusha Suktas. This is where they say Brahma created the world, and out of Brahma came, Brahmins came from the head, Kshatriyas from the shoulder, Vaishyas from the thigh, and Shudras from the feet. So it automatically coded the caste system. So the beginning of caste system is basically from the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda. So likewise, first mandala, second mandala, third mandala, all these are chapters of Rig Veda. I'm not going to the much depth of all this. So these are some of the important things, and we have to learn how the Vedic society was. Now let's get the most important facts correctly. Ready? Now let's take the facts. So before, we need to know Aryans and Vedic period. This refers to the group of Indo-European speaking people who migrated into the Indian subcontinent around 1500 BC. They are credited with composing the Vedas, the text of Hinduism. So this refers to the historical era in ancient India during which the Vedas were composed and used. It roughly spans. So remember early Vedic period, and the later Vedic period. So Vedic period transforms into 1500 to 6,000, 1500 to 1000 BC. And later Vedic is 1000 to 600 BC. Remember this, you can remember this time period, have an idea regarding that. It focused on the Punjab region. Aryans expanded into the Ganga Yamuna Doab. That is why they moved eastward expansion. This is what is called as the eastward expansion. They moved eastwards. Okay, get this correct. So we are reading the Vedic period. If you know the Vedic period, later Vedic is going to be very simple. So advent of Aryans have come. A new group of people have come here. Let's identify. Vedic period is named after the Vedas, which were composed by the Aryans. So, but the Aryans were the people. The Vedic period is the time and culture associated with the religious and society and development of India. So, Aryans are the people. Vedic is the time. So, know this clarity. Have this clarity. Okay. And the sources of the Vedic age. Primarily, you can see that it is the Rig Veda. Rig Veda was obviously written first, then the other Vedas like Sama Veda, Yajurveda Veda came in. Okay, so Rig Veda has all the type of important sacrifices, all the details. Other texts like Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas are forest songs. They are forest songs which are sung in the forest, and very important, the forest songs, Upanishads and Vedangas. Vedas were composed in Sanskrit and preserved through oral tradition. So please remember there are two important things called the Vedic hymns were called as the frog hymns. You know why they were called frogs? They were Smriti and Shruti. They were Smriti and Shruti, one which passed on by writing, very, very later period. And Vedas were usually frog hymns, mean they were listened. You can listen them, you can learn them. Just like a teacher invokes a shloka, the other people recites the shloka. Just like frogs, it creates a voice. So likewise, it has passed on from one generation to the other generation. So Vedas are Shruti and Smriti. Rig Veda is the oldest, one of the oldest. So you got the and look at these are what is the type of the people? They were pastoralism, semi-nomadic lifestyle, and tribal political structures. They were in North India, Punjab region, Sapta Saindhava, Sapta Sindhu region, and later on they expanded into this. So they were pastoral people, semi-nomad people. Very, very important point. Okay, get this point. And the Indo-European language family. Look at the language and the important linguistic aspect regarding. The Aryans belong to the Indo-European language group. Their language shows similarities with Sanskrit, Persian, Greek, and Latin. So that is the Indo-European. It is very similar to that. And let's understand some of the important homeland theories. So these theories clearly say that how the Aryans came from, which areas do you think the Aryans came to India? One is the Central Asian theory, the most popular one put forward by Max Muller. This theory suggests that Aryans came from Central Asia around modern day Kazakhstan. So just imagine our Vedas, shlokas, everything are written by a group of people who came all the way from Kazakhstan. And now Kazakhstan happens to be a Muslim country. So just imagine the irony of that. And the Arctic region theory by Balagangadhara Tilak was based on astronomical references on the Vedas. European theory, like they came from Eastern Europe, steppes in the region. All these are European theories. Out of India theory, Aryans originated in India itself. Like the famous historian R.D. Kalla, they all believe that Aryans came from India itself. There is no outside theory. So these are some of the theories that you should remember that can be a question also. The Aryans are believed to have migrated into the northwest Punjab region around 1500 BC. They did not invade but gradually assimilated into the Indian subcontinent. So first group of Aryans came. There are many theories. Okay, there are many theories. As we have discussed, the double invasion theory, the Aryan invasion theory. There is limited direct archaeological evidence of Aryan migration. Indirect evidence include reference in the Rig Veda to rivers and geography of the northwest. The use of horses and chariots mentioned in the Vedas is not found in the Indus Valley civilization. You find the importance of horses and chariots. These are all given in Vedas. Rig Veda it is given. So, and Rig Veda and what are the important gods that you say in Rig Veda? You can see Indra is a very, very popular god, and Agni is a very popular god. Indra, Agni, Varuna, all these are popular gods during this time. There is no Shiva, Mahavishnu or Brahma during this time. There is no Hinduism at all. There is no concept of this, which is all coming in the later Vedic period and after that. Here the natural gods are the important god. Indra, Agni, Varuna. Varuna is the head of the cosmic order called Rata. These are previous questions. He is the head of the cosmic order called Rata. I don't know how do you pronounce it. Rata. Rata is Varuna. And Agni, Indra. Indra is the most powerful god of this time, the god of thunder. Agni, the god of fire. Varuna is the god of the cosmic order. And just imagine, Indra is also known by different names like Purandar. Purandara is the name of Indra, which means the breaker of forts. He breaks the forts. Purandara. So there are many things, so you don't have to learn everything, but understand few things, that's it. So Aryans and Dravidian. Aryans likely interacted with the Dravidian speaking population, and that is the evolution of Indian civilization. Obviously, Dravidians, the people here, and Aryans, they all interacted We intermixed, and that is how we came in. So let's understand the political structure during this time. The Vedic time. It was good. Tribal chief, they were kings like tribal chief. You had a tribe and you had a tribal chief. He was called as Rajan, or he was also called as Gopa. In the sense, he was called Janasya Gopa. He was also known by the name Janasya Gopa, assisted by a Purohita or a priest and a Senani or a military leader. So a Rajan, a Gopa or a Janasya Gopa, a priest and a Senani. No organized state or territory. Society was organized into tribes. There was no state, etc. It was all tribal. And remember, for examination, the two popular assemblies, Sabha, Samiti, and even there is another thing called Vidhata. These were all assembly. Sabha means elders. Samiti, General Assembly of Tribesmen. This is a very easy way to remember all this, because Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata. Remember Sabha. Sabha means Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. We cannot go and sit in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Only the senior people or elected special people are going. That is why Council of Elders. So Sabha is a place where, obviously, remember Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Samiti is where tribesmen, everybody can come. Samiti is like we have a Panchayat Samiti, we have a local Samiti, village, any local Samiti which is being created. Everybody can come in. So always remember, elite people and elders were Sabha and Samiti. And later on we had Vidhata. So they were all group of associations. Kinship-based society. Varna system was present in basic form. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but not rigid. We have one family. We all are one family, and I have 3 brothers. And I love to teach, as I love to teach. And my brother likes to fight, and he likes to take care of the other people, and he wants to protect our people. And there is another person called, he is interested in agriculture, or he is interested in trading. So initially there was only Brahman, Kshatriya and Vaishya. Shudra was not there. Later on Shudras came in. So imagine there is another person who loves to do agriculture, who loves to serve everybody. He loves to serve my parents, he loves to serve the other people. We are all brothers and we all go to work. I go to teach, I'm Brahmana. My brother obviously is guarding us safety. So he is Kshatriya. The other person is actually engaged in business, so he becomes Vaishya. And other people loves agriculture or low class. I mean, he is actually engaged in low activities which is not giving wealth. That is why they became low. So at the end of the day, we can all live in one home. At 6 p.m. we come back, we all eat together. We are all people doing different jobs. We all sleep under the one roof. A good family. But later on, in the later Vedic period, my children and my daughters and my family, I got huge money. Because I am teaching, I'm getting more, I'm a Brahmana, I'm getting more money. So what happens is I separated my family and I became Brahmin. Kshatriya separated, Vaishya separated, Shudra separate. So then it became very, very rigid. Obviously, I am at the top of the order. And later on, they solidified it by adding the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda. That is how they created the Purusha Sukta mandala. So in ancient time, women had a respectable status. They could attempt assemblies, compose hymns like Lopamudra, Ghosha are all examples of ancient times where women had a great right. Definitely pastoralism dominated. Cow was the measure of the worth. That is the reason why every name started with Go. Anything related to cow was the symbol of richness, symbol of prosperity. So most of the things started from the letter called Go. Like Gopada. It's a Gopada. And Gopa. Gavishti is a battle. A rich man was called Gopa. There are many other aspects like Gopa, Gopasya. All of the words, Gavishti, everything started with G, Ga, Go, that words. So limited agriculture, use of wooden plough was there. And no taxes. Tributes were called Bali and they were voluntarily. You could give the king the tax and it was you could give the Janasya Gopa gift, that was voluntary. Iron was not known. Tools were made of stone, copper and bronze. Very clear. Get this correct. Get this thing correct. And moving on the religious, it was polytheistic and naturalistic. Worship of natural gods like Indra, Agni, Varuna, the cosmic order, Soma. These were all the type of gods. No temples or idol worship, because you do not have idols of Indra or Agni. Rituals involved yajnas, fire sacrifices, and chanting of mantras. So there is no Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, etc. These are all coming later. So this was a policy. And role of Sabha Samiti in decline. In the early Vedic period, Sabha and Samiti were powerful tribal assemblies that even had the authority to remove a king. In later Vedic period, the influence declined sharply. So, and loss of tribal democracy, which we'll understand later. Later Vedic, we'll discuss it later. So remember about all this. Sanskrit language was an elite language. Most of them were written in Sanskrit, so that became a very elitist language. Know that point. Purusha Sukta, hymn of the Rig Veda, justifies the varna system by associate each varna with a cosmic Purusha, Brahma. So this was the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda, which was added later. It was added later. Cattle raiding and wealth. As I told you, cow was the most important thing. You are a rich person by the term that how many cows you had. If there is another village, there is a person in another village and he's stealing your cows, then a battle can even happen. So just battles happen during those times only because you steal cows. Imagine. Early Vedic cattle raid, the battle was called by the name Gavishti. It was called by the name Gavishti, and the word Dasyu refers to enemies or non-Aryan tribes often raided or defeated. So Dasyus means lesser people. There are even other terms like Anus, Purus, Turavas, etc. Not discussing here. But Dasyus, enemies or non-Aryans. These raids reflect the competitive and martial nature of the Aryan society. Gavishti, remember. And this has already been discussed. And the next is, now let's discuss some of the important terms that can be asked in the examination. I'm just finishing it off. Rajan means king. Purohita, obviously, you know. Senani, before you look at the that order, just try answering. Senani obviously will be military commander. Sabha, council of elders. Samiti, general tribal assembly. Jana, tribe. Grama, village. All these are something that you know. But there are other things. Like Vish is a clan or a group of families is what is called Vish. Vishpati is another term. The Bali means voluntary offering. Go, cow or measure of wealth. Yajna means sacrifice. Soma is a sacred plant associated deity. So even in the 9th mandala of the Rig Veda, it mentions something called Mujavant, which is a type of a plant that you can get it. It is used for Soma. The Soma Rasa you can drink. It is the modern version of the alcohol. Indra, it's a chief deity, god of war and rain. He is the Purandara, Agni, fire god, mediator between God and men. That is why you use the sacrifices. Every sacrifice is at Agni. Agni Swaha. That is what you say. And Swaha is the name of Agni's wife. That is why every invocation has Agneya Swaha. You invoke Swaha is Agni's wife. And Varuna, the guardian of cosmic order. And this cosmic order is RT Rita. And cosmic order. So it's Rita or Rita. It's the cosmic order or truth. Varuna is the head of that. Suktas is hymns in the Veda. Dasa means servant. Dasyu means opponents or enemies or people who are defeated. Arya means noble or free. Opposite of Dasa. And Mitra means friend. Ashwins is deities associated with the medicine and healing. It is the Ashwini Kumara, the old concept. You must have heard about the Ashwini Kumaras, who are very well known according to the myth, who heals people. So these are the important things that to be noted here. Okay, so I think these are some of the important things in Vedic period. Now later on, I'll complete the later Vedic period after the session and read it very carefully.